I think one of the biggest things within the Bible that helps us stand our ground is a theme that we often miss as we read through the scriptures. And I think it's actually one of the biggest themes that we find, and that's the theme of waiting. I think this is one of the most overlooked themes because contrary to our culture, we don't like waiting. Our culture is actually built upon an instant, gratifying, instant self, instant me, instant now. Just look at the phone that you have. Have you tried loading a page and it takes longer than 10 seconds and you get irritated, frustrated? How about ordering? You either go takeouts or you Uber Eats now, and it has to be at your house within 30 minutes or it's not worth it. Our culture is just built upon this instant gratification. But when we look in Scripture, we see that it is something that is very foreign to the life of the believer, the life of the people of God. I want to take us to a verse here from one of the Psalms, Psalm 130, verse 5. It says, "I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in His word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than the watchman for the morning, more than the watchman for the morning." Now, I think there are three things that we can learn about waiting from the Bible. As I mentioned, waiting is a very, very common theme throughout the Scripture. Right in the beginning, one of the first stories we find is the story of Abraham and Sarah, a story of an old couple receiving the promise of a child. And as soon as they receive the promise, they get the child, is what we'd like to read. But they have to wait. And it's about 10 years of waiting for that child. Later on, we see the story of Jacob and his sons. They're going to Israel. They started a nation, and then they're in slavery. And God promised them out of this slavery, but it takes 400 years. And then they go into the wilderness, and they're promised the promised land, but they're in the wilderness for 40 years. They have to wait. Then they get their land, and they mess up, as they tend to do. They land in exile, and God promises them prosperity and good things, but they have to wait 70 years. And then there's this one overarching theme of waiting that we actually find right in the beginning. It's right after the fall of mankind. We see Eve, well, God promised Eve a son, and that son will crush the head of Satan. But we wait for him for a very, very long time. And when he comes, he dies on the cross, is raised again, and he leaves, and he tells his disciples, he tells us to wait for him. Well, waiting is a part of the Christian life. And we often just want to deny it. And we want the instant breakthrough, the instant promise fulfilled. And when I read the Bible, I just don't see that. I see a waiting people. And I think the second thing that waiting does, which will help us, it helps us realize the things that we actually place our trust in. Have you ever had to wait for something and it not be realized, and then realize yourself, my hope was not in the Lord, not in Him, but in whatever I think He's going to give me. Maybe it's health. My hope is in my health. I'm waiting on that, and if I don't receive it, I just lose all hope, all joy. For some, it is the hope of a future spouse. If I don't receive this one thing, I become unhappy. And I think that's what waiting does. It helps us realize if the thing that we're hoping for is our ultimate thing, or is it the one that gives us the promise. So God uses waiting as such a powerful tool within our lives to help us see, do I wait for the thing God wants me to have, or do I wait for the giver, God Himself? Do I place my trust in the thing I want, or do I place my trust in the Lord. And then finally, the third thing that waiting does is it actually becomes an act of worship in and of itself. The way that we wait is a way that we can honor God, that we can worship Him. If we wait, trusting in His promises, not losing hope, not doubting, not turning away from Him when we don't get what we want, we worship Him. So I hope as you enter this life of standing your ground, you realize that you're going to wait at some point. And I know some of you have already waited for many years, many months, many days. You might wait a couple more. But in your waiting, you can honor God, you can worship Him, and He will come through in ways that you just can't imagine and can't have realized if you had just received it immediately. So may that be an encouragement for you today.